Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome once again to the underground lair where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. And today, I think I'm going to work on an alien today. I'm going to do a little sketch, design an alien, but that's not the main reason why we're here. The main reason why, and if you've been watching, I don't know if do you guys know that I have a Snapchat channel? I guess I don't know if it's called a channel, but I'm on Snapchat. So if you check it out, if you're subscribed, or if you friend me, or whatever the terminology is for following me on Snapchat, then you know I did a unboxing, and we got some cool stuff in the art lab, some inking supplies, some new things that I'm going to test out. Look at that! I got this. These are all new inking tools that I want to test out, and then I got some old favorites here. But yeah, so I wanted to do a video and kind of test some of these out and kind of determine what are some of the best inking tools that you can use. So I'm going to also test out some different brushes, some different inks, and should be a lot of fun. We should learn a lot. This might be a longer video, but there's going to be a lot of information there, I think, and it'll give you guys some advice on if you're shopping for some inking supplies, you know, what to get. So without any further ado, let's get to the art table and we'll start sketching and start testing out some of these new cool inking supplies. Okay, so here we have a number of inking tools. Some I've used for a little while, I've tried and that I'm familiar with, and some of them are new, so we're going to have to test them out a little bit. So it may not be that much of a fair comparison because sometimes it takes a while for you to use some of these tools to kind of break them in or get comfortable with them. But we're going to try them out just the same, and we're going to see, you know, how they handle, how they feel in your hand, and how they, you know, react to Bristol or whatever, you know, paper you're using. So we're going to try some different pens out. I've got some inks that we'll use with a couple different brushes, and let's see how this goes. But first we need to actually have something to draw. So I've got a sheet. Well, so I'm going to be using it's like a smooth, like I guess it's a hot press Bristol. I think this is Strathmore. I also use Canson. Both of them seem to work very, very good. I usually prefer a little bit of a tooth to it. Like sometimes I prefer, like, I think it's the hot press it's got a little more of a tooth to it. That can sort of affect the you know, the ink and everything. To me, it just feels a little better. I don't like to be super rough, but anyway, this paper is actually pretty smooth. So a lot of times it just depends what they have on sale, what I'll pick up. But I'll leave that up to you guys. You can try the difference between the hot press and the cold press and see what works best. So I am going to get out. I'm going to just use a Pentel, or not a Pentel, is it Panto? Who makes the Color-Race? Anyway, it's Color-Race. Prismacolor, I think, makes them. Yeah. All these companies that start with P, Pentel, Pantone, you know, Prismacolor, whatever. Anyway, so I'm going to use this to do a quick sketch. I'm going to draw a little spaceman guy, and we'll do that right now. Alright, so I'm going to speed this up quite a bit because this is more of an inking demo, but the thing is, usually when I do these, I do a lot of inking and stuff on this channel, and I always, the sketches I usually always do, I forget to record them or whatever, because a lot of times I'm just, you know, I'll just do a sketch and I'm like, oh, this looks okay, maybe I'll ink this, and by that time I didn't record it. So I figured with this one I'll give you kind of a look at some of my sketching process. So yeah, for this I'm using the Color-Race pencils. I'm using red, I think it's a cadmium red, if I'm correct. Let me, oh no, it's called carmine red. So anyway, I just kind of lay down a basic gesture, and I like to draw a lot of little, you know, technical type stuff. So with the battle suit, I add all these little detail and stuff. I try to make it look somewhat functional, but in reality, there's just a lot of, you know, crazy lines and little, you know. things here and there. So first I was going to make him human, but then I decided to kind of make him a little more humanoid, like an alien. And apologize, sometimes I forget to keep it in the in the shot, the whole drawing. But if I colored this, I'd probably give him like maybe a green or a purple skin or something like that. But because I use so many different, or I'm going to use so many different ink pens on this, some of them may not work well with Copic. So if I do color them, I'll probably have to scan it in and do it digitally, because with so many variables as far as all the different ink pens I'm using, some of them may not work well or react well to the Copic markers. But we're going to test this out later in the video and see which of these pens smudge with Copics, which works best. Also with some of the inks that I'm going to try out and the brushes. But yeah, so I did, again, this is sped up quite a bit because this is going to be a long video as it is. But I just wanted to give you guys a little idea of just how I sketch things out, since for whatever reason I always forget to do that. Yeah, so it should be a pretty cool little piece. But let's get on to inking. Alright, so we got our space alien guy. The first pen I'm going to use, so we're going to start off with some felt tip pens. The first one I'm going to use is the Zebra brush pen, and I've used this for a little while. I almost replaced my Pentel pocket brush, which we're going to get to in a little bit. But yeah, this is a nice pen. It doesn't have like the nylon tip. We're going to test out some nylon tip brushes. This one's more like a felt tip. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's kind of get up close. It's a little show it in front of the white. But yeah, it's got a a good point to it and everything. So I'm going to start off with this guy here. So let's see. It's pretty smooth. The ink lines go down. It's got a really, you can get some really good line weight to it. I'm trying to do it real small, and then I'm trying to over here, it's not super smooth, but then again, that all depends on kind of the control you have. But this is a really good brush for like on the go and stuff. A lot of it'll depend on a lot of I'll use a brush and inks and things like that when I'm working at home. But if I'm out and about, these are really good, and I've got a lot of different options for that now. It seems like when I started, they didn't have so many of these really nice portable pens. I'm trying to get pretty small, pretty detailed, but these are a lot. A lot of people use microns, and microns are great, especially for like they're really good for drawing straight lines and things like that. And it also depends on the type of illustration you prefer. But I like to get some nice line weight to my drawing. So this is a Zebra pocket brush, and I'm going to leave links to all of these in the description. So, and it depends what you like. Sometimes you like a little bit of a rough, sometimes you like smoother. The more you can kind of put a little bit of pressure down, and that will definitely give you a more solid line, but it'll be a little thicker. But it's got a very good variation of line. And I have a feeling a lot of these brushes that I'm going to demonstrate today, I think any one of them are probably going to work for you. So a lot of times it really is personal preference too. So, but yeah, I do really like this. And it's very solid, very, it goes down really well. So yeah, so that is the Pentel, or not the Pentel, the Zebra brush pen. So I'm going to move on to, now this is a new one. I haven't used this one yet. But this one's got, let's see, is this, well, you know what? I think I'm gonna skip this one. I'm gonna skip that one because I want to kind of go in order. I want to just do no, that one's got a, which one? You have to excuse me because some of these are newer pens. Is that? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll go back to the one I was originally gonna do. So let's see. So this is a new one. Of course, it's in Japanese. So I'm trying to remember. Is this the Pilot? Yeah. So this is a Pilot Futiyaku. Is that these Japanese words sometimes I struggle with. So, but it's a double-sided brush pen, and again, I'll leave the link. But it's got two sides. I've seen some of them have like one that has like the black, like the thick one's black, and then the other one's like a gray. And there's some different options you can get online. Some people like to, I don't use I usually use Copics if I'm doing some grayscales. And usually I go with just like solid black lines. I don't usually, some people do some really fantastic, like brushwork, and they kind of, dilute their inks with waters and get a really nice wash with those. But I just use solid blacks, and then I'll go in with the colors later. Although that does sound like something I want to try. But anyway, so this has got a double-sided tip. It's got a thicker side, and this is another felt tip. And then on the other side, it's got a really nice, really fine point pen. So we're going to try both of those out. So we're going to start off with the thicker one, and we'll see if it, this illustration could, this sketch, I think when it's done, we'll see if it looks, if you can tell I did it with a bunch of different pens. But I think all these pens, like I said, I think they're all going to work pretty well. So it shouldn't look too wonky when now this one definitely has a, it's a lot thicker than the one I was using before, than the Zebra brush pen. Even I'm trying to just put a little pressure in it. Sometimes when you add, you're trying to get these really thin line weights, and it kind of struggles with that. But it doesn't really matter because on the other side you've got that finer tip, so that's good. But so I'm gonna just kind of use this for a little bit thicker. It's got a good flow. It seems to break up a little bit. There we go. There we go. Trying to get there. So I'm able to get kind of a, now the circles are always challenging. If it can handle these, it's coming out pretty a little thick, but like I said, we've got the other side, so it does feel nice and smooth. Another one that's going to be nice and portable for you to take wherever you go. And what I should have done is tried to do some blacks. I have a feeling this one would also do good for filling in some blacks and stuff. So go around with another circle. Yeah, I do like this pen though. It's now the real challenge. Yeah, see, it breaks it when I try to do these thin lines with it. It breaks up a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch it over, and we're going to try the thinner side. So we'll go in here in some of these thinner details. Oh wow, that is nice and thin, and you get a little line weight to it. So yeah, this one's almost like you kind of have to use both sides in order to take full advantage of it. But it is nice to have that. Now you can't get too thick with it, and I wouldn't press down too much because you don't want to, I don't know if it would, start to mess up. But yeah, I'm getting some really, really nice thin lines here. I like this other side a lot, and to me it's better than like a Micron or like the Faber-Castells, just the regular, like, they're not tech pens. I don't know what you call those. I guess like, yeah, I don't know. I know there's a name for them, but But I do like this pen a lot. So this is one of the newer ones. So like I said, sometimes you have to kind of work with them to kind of get comfortable with them. But I do like it. It's you know, it feels nice in your hand. It's got some good weight to it. So yeah, this is the Pentel. What is it? The Futayaku, I think. Again, I'm going to leave links to all these. So now what we're going to do is going to move on to some of the nylon tip brushes. Now this is let's see. So yeah, so this one's got a nice nylon tip. This, and on the other side, it's got another fine tip. I don't think that's nylon. I think that's a felt tip. So this one you kind of got both. So it's a good transition from the felt tips to the nylon tips, which the nylon tips work pretty well. I mean, I've used the Pentel pocket brush and it's nice, but I haven't used this one, so we're going to try this one out. This one is the Zebra, so another Zebra pen, Foud, is it Foud or I don't know, F-U-D-E brush pen. Yeah. So anyway, so this has got, I'm going to try the kind of the thick nylon tip here, and let's go in. We're going to go into what this helmet is inside here. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Man, you can get, man, it's got a really nice. You can get super thin with it, it seems like. And yeah, not as thick as I thought. I could get a little thicker. I want to try something here. Hold on. Where's something? Let me go on this other side where I can get it kind of thick. Yeah, you can get pretty thick with it. But it goes down super smooth. Pretty solid blacks. It's hard to. The real test is going to see what I want to do after this. I want to do a test to see how they all react with like the Copic markers, because I use that a lot. Now I'm noticing right in here I got some smudging. The problem is I don't know which one smudged because I wasn't paying attention. So, and I'm using so many different inks that I don't know which one smudged. And that's one of the things that I've been looking for, because I seem to be getting some smudging lately, and I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm not being careful enough or what, but I don't like that smudging. But yeah, it seems like it's almost like calligraphy in a way, where it's when you're turning it, I don't know how to explain it, but from when you go from those thin lines to the thick lines, sometimes it just, I don't know how to explain it, but not as much of a smooth transition. There we go. Pretty good with around doing the circles and everything. But yeah, it does have a really good variation of line weight. And again, that's a nylon pen. So we're gonna switch over to the other side of this pen, and we're gonna try out this thinner tip, which I believe is like a felt tip. So we're gonna go right in here with the, yeah, you can get pretty thin. I'm not sure if it's as good as that last pen I tried, as far as, but it's pretty close. Like all of these are gonna, you know, all these are gonna be recommends, I think. So let's do this. So I'm trying to get some different line weight, not too big of a variation, but then again, this is just a small tip, but let's try to go really thin with it. Okay, yeah. So yeah, this is a really nice pen. I do like that. This is the what is it? the Zebra Foud, or I guess brush pen. So now we're going to move on to the Pentel pocket brush. Now this is one I'm very familiar with. It's refillable, so let's see on the back here. It's got little cartridges here. And some people refill them. They'll like stick ink. I used to try to do that, and I've got another one sitting here that I refilled. Where is it? Yeah, so I've got another one. We'll test this other one out. But this one, the other one I kind of use when I want when I don't want it to be such a clean line, when I want it to break up, because it's kind of running down a little bit. But it's the tough part is finding, there we go, finding which one is the back part for the ink brush, or for the ink cartridge, and one's for the tip. So all right, so I don't know if you can see that. So this is a nylon brush, and I'm just gonna give it a go. I should have, let's try this guy's head here. And I kind of moved away from this brush lately to go with the zebra brush pen, but I'm not sure why, because it's a really nice pen. Get a lot of line variation with it. You get like pretty thick. I've even, you know, I don't know if I would recommend it so much, like if it's the only thing I have, like if I'm out, like sometimes I've done some big solid blacks with it, like almost like filling in, you know, like a sky, like a night sky, and then add some stars and things. But the cartridges aren't too inexpensive, so I wouldn't recommend wasting it on a lot of big blacks. Like I said, you can refill them to certain degrees, but I'm gonna try to get some real thin. Yeah, it does, you know, you can get pretty thin with it. It breaks up a little bit. Not quite as good as a pen and a brush, but for the portability of it, I would highly recommend it. So yeah, so Pentel pocket brush. This is one that I've used quite a bit. This is sort of my portable convention. Now sometimes you have to play with a little bit to get it, like when you first start off. It takes a little while for the ink to come out, and that's typical when you have these cartridge pens. But and then when it starts to dry up, it'll get a little dry, you'll notice. But sometimes that gives a really nice effect, which I'll try. I'll see if I can. This might not be the best illustration for it, so I'm going to try it on the side here. So this is the other, like you can see. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but this, so I forget what ink I used when I refilled it, but it's not very solid. Yeah, but it does, if you do want sort of a grayish thing, and it does kind of have that, or it kind of breaks up, and it's got that almost, it's got a good effect for kind of when you want that broken line. But yeah, so you know, refill them at your own sort of at your own discretion, I guess. Yeah, so the Pentel pocket brush. Now here's another pen that I haven't used this one, but this one came recommended as well. This is a Copic. This is a number 13. It's a fountain brush. So another, you know, it's another nylon tip. Let's see, where's the, how do I open this back part? It was in, the funny thing was, when I put this in here, it was in Japanese, so I didn't know which way it went in. But it was like the thicker side. So if you get it, the thicker side, because it tapers off a little bit, but the thicker side is the one. It's got a little, like, it looks like a little metal ball at the end of it. So I was like, do I put that in? Is that going to work? Because you have to pop them in, it kind of punctures it, and then that's when the ink comes out. But anyway, so this is the Copic pen, brush pen. And this one, right now, it feels a little better in the hand than the Pentel pocket brush. It's a little lighter and a little thinner, so depending, you know, what you want. Sometimes people prefer something a little heavier, but I kind of like the way this feels. It's a lot lighter, so let's see how it performs when we start inking on the page. Oh yeah, this is nice. Now, right now, I'm getting some pretty thin, and it's not breaking up. And when I say breaking up, because it's like you kind of have to decide. It really is kind of up to you, because it's trying not to put enough pressure on it so that it's thin enough, but enough pressure that it doesn't, that you're still continuing. Now, see, that's from the Pentel. So maybe I'm not waiting long enough, but what I just did here with the Pentel pocket brush, I don't know if you guys can see that. See that smudging right there? Obviously you want to try to avoid that. So, maybe I should try to, do this a little more. But yeah, I can get pretty thin and pretty thick, and it's a nice smooth. It comes out really smooth. Yeah, I like this pen a lot. This one, I may prefer this to the pocket brush pen, actually, the Pentel. They're very close. Let's see, I'm gonna try to get a little thicker line underneath here. Yeah, I mean, it's got a really good variation. Yeah, I would recommend this one. The Kuretake. So yeah, this one's a high recommend. So let's see, and then of course, like I said, you've got your, just regular kind of microns. This is Pigma Micron, the Sakura, I guess, and then the Faber-Castell also has them. They're pretty. Either one of these work pretty well. You don't get a lot of line weight to them, but a lot of people do prefer to use these. And I don't know if it's. I mean, there's a lot of times where you do want, especially if you're using doing buildings, or if you're using a ruler. And there's all kinds of different sizes. But I've seen people, they'll use one and they'll go back in and use another one for a thicker line. But that's why I prefer pens that give you a little line weight, so you don't have to go back in again. But if you really want smooth, like for a lot of these detail stuff, I mean, actually these are really good for a lot of detailed work, because you don't have to. It's not like you're trying to worry about, because you can press down and you're still going to get about the same line weight, so you don't have to worry about those broken lines so much. So, I don't know if you can see, here. See how those lines? I try to get a thin line with some of the brush pens that kind of break up, but if you use, these sort of micron type pens, you don't get that. You don't get that breakup. Because you can press down, and it's not gonna, you don't have to worry about, oh, am I pressing down far enough? And so yeah. All right, so I think most people are probably familiar with these. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna try out some different inks and brushes. All right, so first we're going to use Higgins Black Magic. This is probably, at least here in the US, it seems like this is the one that you can find the most places. It's, most of the craft stores carry it. So a lot of times I'll pick this up, like if I don't have time to order some other ink or whatever. It's really difficult to recommend a lot of these inks, not because they're bad or anything, but because they're unpredictable. It seems like they're always changing the formulas. Sometimes they're more watered down than other. A lot of times if it feels a little watered down, if you leave the cap off, and be careful when you do that, because you don't want somebody to come by and knock it over or whatever. But sometimes if you let it dry out a little bit, it'll help to get a little thicker. But so, like I said, they always, it seems like they're always messing around with the formula, so it's kind of like you don't know what you're going to get. But I'm using, this is a Winsor Newton Series 7. I think this is a number 1 or a number 2. But this is like you know, very nice brush. Kind of a little on the pricey side. Sometimes art stores will have like deals on them. I think I got these when they were like 30% off or whatever, but it's still a little pricey. So, but if you take care of them, they'll last a long time. So I don't know if I'm in screen here. So whenever I use a brush, I always have a little you know, extra sheet of paper to kind of test it out. So yeah, it's getting pretty solid. Let's see. You know, yeah, not totally solid for like your, you know, if you want a real solid background. But like I said, this is one that, but it goes down pretty smooth. So, but you always want to kind of control your brush with just an extra sheet of paper when you're doing that. Now see, this one's got a little split in it sometimes, so I have to kind of watch out. But here we go. Now the brushes, you know, inks and brushes, they do tend to take a little bit of a practice to get the hang of how they work, but I don't know. I think you have way more control with once you learn how to do it with a brush than you do any of these, you know, the brush pens. But they're not as portable. You've got to bring your ink around, and so they don't really work for like if you're out sketching or you're at a convention or something like that. But yeah, so like I said, this is it's kind of got a watered down, you know, it's not quite as solid. It's hard to probably tell on video, but I'm looking at it and it's definitely not even close to as solid as the blacks of the brush pens I've been using. So yeah, Higgins Black Magic, you know, it used to be really good. Now it's kind of, you just kind of see what you get. But anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna switch to a different ink. And what I do, another thing is, you know, and this is pretty full, so sometimes, you know, people will just dip it in the well, but you don't always know it's kind of hard to determine where the ink level is and how far you're dipping the pen in. So I'd always recommend, I just use a little, like a water bottle cap. You know, you drink those water bottles and then got all these caps, so I just collect them. Or you can use, you know, whatever, just some kind of little, you know, container that you can just put a little bit in. That way you know how much ink you're getting on your brush. But yeah, so that's the Higgins Black Magic. Okay, the next ink we're going to use, now there's tons of different inks on the market, so I've only got like 4 that I'm kind of messing around with, but there's other ones you have to try. And like I said, I could say, oh, this works great one time, and then order another one, and then it's different. So, but this is a Speedball Super Black. Again, I put it in my little, you know, water bottle top thing. So I don't know if you guys can see this. So far, yeah, this is a lot. It's a lot nicer, a lot blacker than the Higgins. And sometimes you have to dip it a few times to kind of fill the brush. Get some on there. So, all right. So here we go. Let's try it around there's my little, so I'm not smudging. So yeah, it goes on pretty smooth. Fairly black. I mean, the real test is like when you're trying to lay down some big solid colors on how black it is, because you can get you know, out of most of these pens you can get some decent lines. But the real test is when you start laying down solid, you know, solid blacks, of whether how much coverage you're going to get. And then some people, it's a preference if you want sort of that washy look, But not bad. Yeah, this is the Speedball. But we're gonna switch to a different one, different ink. Let's see. Okay, so the next ink I'm gonna try is this FW Artist Acrylic ink, and what makes this unique is that it's acrylic, so it's kind of, it's like painting with plastic, which doesn't sound good, but actually this is a really nice ink. One of the issues that I found is a lot of times I use, and I don't have any with me here, but I'll use these pencil leads, these drafting leads. They're non-photo blue and they're a little waxy, and the acrylic doesn't seem to want to stick to those. So sometimes it depends on what you're actually drawing with, but I've used this quite a bit, and it usually has a really nice black. It's a little glossier than some of the other inks, but I do recommend it. So here we go. I know this is out of camera, so I'm just trying to make sure I load my brush up here. But yeah, I've never had an issue with this ink not being black enough. And this used to be my favorite ink. The only reason I stopped using it is because if I'm doing just an ink drawing that I know is just going to be ink drawing, sometimes I will still use it, but it doesn't seem to work well with Copic markers as far as it bleeds, and that's the case with pretty much most of these inks, other than the next one that I'll show you, which is going to be my favorite, the one I use the most now, just because it works well with Copics and it's got a solid black. But as far as getting solid, especially like your background and everything, I mean, the FW, the acrylic ink really work well. A lot of people use them for airbrushing. It works really well if you're an airbrush artist. Works good in tech pens if you still use tech pens. Have you seen? I haven't really shown any tech pens, just because for that kind of thing I've switched over the microns just because they're way less hassle. But if you still prefer tech pens, this ink works great in that. But it is a really nice ink, very dark blacks. Unfortunately it's not compatible with like Copic markers or anything. So, but if you're just doing a nice ink drawing, oh, and it washes really well when you're doing, if you want some grays and things like that. But yeah, so that's the FW Artist Acrylic ink, and now we're going to move on to my favorite ink. Okay, so this is the Deleter number 5 black. I don't ever see this in any stores around where I live. I always have to get it online. Usually it's a little pricey because it's from Japan, and it's either the shipping. They'll either charge you a lot for shipping, and the ink will be less expensive, or they'll or the ink, the shipping will be less expensive, but the ink will be. But I think that this time when I ordered, I don't think it was too pricey. I don't know, it was like $8 or $10, which for ink, I guess it's a little pricier, but for me it's worth it, because this one works great with Copic markers. It doesn't usually smudge that much. Sometimes I get a little, like we saw earlier with my hand smudging. Maybe that's because I'm moving too fast. So I just kind of got to watch that. But all in all, yeah, if I could avoid that, if I could avoid. And when I say dry time, I mean typically most of these inks dry pretty quick, but even that, that second after you lay it down, if it's not dry enough and you go over it, you can kind of smudge, so you have to watch that. But so I'm not familiar with all the different, like what the different numbers are. Somebody recommended the number 5, so that's what I've been using. I think the number 5 means it's a little bit glossy. I think number 4 is still a nice black, but maybe a little more matte. And it's not like super glossy. It still seems like a matte finish to me. But these are like, this is super, super, I've never, you know, it's always nice and black. I've never had an issue with that, and it works really well with the Copic markers, and it lays down really nice and smooth. So this is my favorite ink. So I will probably finish the rest of this illustration with this ink. But yeah, so especially if I add some blacks and stuff in it, and it is a nice pen. And what I should probably do before I'll finish this up, but what I want to do is I want to just on a separate sheet of paper lay down lines with all of these pens and see how they react to like Copic markers when they go over them, just so you guys can see, because I know a lot of people, it seems like a lot of people like to use Copic marker illustration, and that was a big struggle for me, just finding one that worked right. So I'll probably finish this up, and then I'll give a little test with how they perform with the Copic markers. But yeah, I do like this. The other thing I wanted to mention, so I mentioned that I'm using the Winsor Newton Series 7. They're a little bit pricey. If you don't want to spend that much money, another brush that I highly recommend are the Winsor Newton, the Cotman brushes. They're watercolor brushes. They're fairly inexpensive, and I don't know, I like them a lot. I think for the price, it's a really nice brush, and I probably use this one a little more than this one, just because this is like a number 1 or a 2. I prefer a thinner line, and I haven't invested in the thinner of the Series 7. So I use this Cotman one a lot, and I recommend it, especially for the price. So just a little tip there. But I'm going to finish this thing up, and then we'll get back to, I'll do a little demo. We'll see how these different pens work with the Copic markers. Okay, so once again, I'm going to speed this up quite a bit just to finish this off. I mean, obviously we've kind of seen the process, but I did want to finish it up, and because I want to demonstrate also some gel pens and things like that to add some white. So I want to get some nice blacks in there, maybe do a little space scene, and then we'll throw some stars in there using some gel pens, just one in particular. I've tried a few. There's one that I really like that I'll recommend, and I'll give you all that information. And again, I'm gonna try to put all this stuff inside the comment section, or the description, I guess. And speaking of comments, let me know, because this is a little bit longer video. So if you, a lot of people like the longer videos, some people don't. Now, it's probably a moot point, because I'm guessing if you've already made it this far along in the video, you probably prefer longer videos, and if you don't, then you've probably opted out by now. But I've been trying to do some shorter ones, and if you do like that short content, again, if you're on Snapchat, I usually do just some quick snaps and things like that. I don't do anything like crazy, like all the filters and things like that. For me, it's just a good way to do some behind the scenes stuff, and I'll do unboxings and things like that, but just behind the scenes, a little more candid stuff as far as the art process. So I do that on Snapchat. You can follow me at Serkworks on there. But again, leave comments on the YouTube, and let me know, what kind of videos you like. Also, let me know, because I've demonstrated quite a few different inking pens and things like that, but there's so many out there, and maybe you guys have a favorite pen of your own. Let me know in the comment section what you like and what works for you. and because it's always good to see what kind of tools are out there. A lot of these were recommended by other people. That's where I went ahead and ordered some. Different people use different pens, and I'm like, oh, what's that pen? And again, I usually say this anytime I do any kind of a demo. These aren't magic. They're not going to make you automatically like draw better. I mean, you have to have the the skills and everything. But it is cool to try out different tools and everything, and kind of see what works for you. And some of these recommends, just because it works for me, it kind of some of it's brush control or whatever when I get into the inks and things like that. Maybe different, some people don't like to use brushes at all. Some people just prefer like the pens. And I'm kind of warming up to a lot of them. Before, like I said earlier, in my career, they really didn't have a lot of really nice pens that you can get nice line weights from, like portable. At least not that I was aware of. So I kind of did everything with the brush, but it's nice to have those when you're out and about, or if you're at a con or something like that and you're signing, because it's not really practical to bring an ink, a bottle of ink and a paintbrush and all that. So, but as you can see here, I'm getting ready to start filling in all the blacks. I kind of go around putting some little stars, kind of the Kirby crackle. I've kind of, obviously Jack Kirby made that famous, and I've kind of stolen or borrowed or stole that from him. I use that technique a lot just because I like it. So now I'm using my larger brush. My larger Winsor Newton Series 7, and just filling in those. And again, this Deleter black, really solid blacks, really nice. Can't really recommend this particular ink enough. So if I had to recommend anyone, this is the one I'd go with. So, but let's get back to some other stuff. Okay, so we've got our ink drawing pretty much finished. I'm going to put a finishing touch, which brings me to another pen that a lot of artists use, and that I use as well. Some people use like jelly roll pens, and I think that's the brand. But this is the one that I prefer. It's the Uniball Sino, and as you can see, we're just going to do some stars here. It's really nice and opaque. It's great for either corrections or just doing, if you get some white lines and things, like if I wanted to go in here, and which I didn't really want to do that, but for demonstration purposes. But yeah, I just go ahead and pop some stars in. But yeah, this is my favorite one. The only drawback to these, and I think it's the same with most of them, they don't seem to last very long. So usually, like on Amazon, I'll order like a pack of 3, because you don't want to get stuck without one, like if yours like runs out. But I go through these like crazy, so. But they really are, I really do like them. You can just either, do that, or just dab them, make little stars or whatever. Okay, so we're going to test these things out with the Copic markers and see which ones smudge. So I let these dry a good long while. They've probably been drying for, I don't know, maybe 3 hours. So that does help, because sometimes they'll smudge more if you're working, if they haven't totally dried. So let's see what happens. And I'm using a lighter colored Copic, because those be the ones that tend to smudge the most. So first one is the Micron. So I don't know if you can see that, but it definitely is. It is kind of bleeding and smudging quite a bit with microns. All right. Then we've got the Zebra brush. I don't know if I've ever tried these with Copics, now that I think about it. These seem to work a little better. I'm gonna kind of go. Now, there is some bleeding with the Zebra brush. Not much. It's actually, it's not too bad. But again, I've let it dry for a while. Usually I don't let them dry. I don't have that much time to let them dry that long before I, because usually I'll ink something and I'll go right to the Copics. So So this is the Pilot Fatukia. I don't know, you can't even read it the way I wrote it down. But yeah, that's what it looks like. Let's see. Now this is both as there's two lines because one's the broad tip, one's the light tip. If you you're really pressing a lot, which sometimes you do. I mean, it's sometimes you want to blend some colors, but it doesn't seem too bad. Let's try the lighter line. I mean the thinner line. That seems pretty good. So I don't know. So far, most of these are doing a lot better than what they have before in the past with my experiences. But maybe I'm just not letting them dry long enough. Maybe if you let them dry, a good 3.5 hours, maybe they're all pretty good. Let's try the Zebra food. Is it food brush? I don't know. It's Fude. I don't know how you pronounce that. Let's see. Not bad. See, now this is weird because here I figured this would be a good demo because I'd show you how all these things smudge, but so far these are doing pretty well. This is the Kuretake fountain brush pen, which that's the one that I think I'm really digging. I think that might be my new favorite one. Yeah, it seems to, this one seems fine too. This has just, let's see. So, okay, this, and now we're into just the regular inks, okay? So this is the brush and the inks. Not the ones that have ink inside. We're talking stuff like Black Magic and stuff like that. So this is Deleter number 5. This one again is my favorite. See, I'm really, but you can tell, I mean, I'm like really going into it, and there's virtually hardly any, any smudging at all, and that's why I really like that ink. Okay, so now with the Higgins, yeah, Higgins not good at all. It's yeah, it smudges quite a bit, and it also, the line, not only does it smudge, but the line the black line, fades away and stuff. So Higgins not good. It seems like, a lot of these other inks are like Japanese inks, usually for like manga. For whatever reason, the manga inks tend to work better with Copics. The American stuff, not so much. So we're gonna try the Speedball. Speedball, yeah, definitely smudging with the Speedball. And the FW, and we'll get smudging with that too. So, as far as the brush pens, I think the Micron, no, it smudges. Most of these other ones, these new ones that I tried, which most of them are Japanese, like I said, they're all kind of for manga. So, oh, I missed one. I missed the Pentel Pocket Brush pen. So now this one, before I even try it, I just want to say usually I stop using this because it did smudge. So they're going to try it out. If it doesn't smudge that much, that means maybe I just need to let it dry a little longer. But not too bad. It does start to fade a little bit, but yeah. So I don't know, maybe with this Pentel Pocket Brush pen, maybe I'm just not letting it dry long enough. But I know some of these, like when I use the Deleter ink, it doesn't take long, and then I can go over it. Like I can, wait, less than 10 minutes usually go over it, and it's usually fine. So as far as inking, yeah, as far as with Copics, that's still my preference. Overall, if I have to pick what to do under, the best circumstances where I'm home, where where I don't have to take something portable, that would be the Deleter number 5 and the Winsor Newton. A good substitute, like I said, if you want to go the less expensive route, I really do recommend the Cotman watercolor brushes. So this is my ink of choice. So out of the new pens that I've tried out, I think my new favorite brush pen, just portable one, where did I put it? Let's see, where did it go? Oh, here it is. It looks like so much like a regular pen. This is the Kuretake number 13 fountain brush pen, and I think I like this better than the Pentel Pocket Brush. This is still a great pen, but this one, I don't know, just for me, I mean, they both have a pretty good line. They both lay down pretty dark blacks. This one just seems more comfortable, I think. That's part of it, and it may have a little better performance, and it's pretty sleek looking. I mean, it's a really nice looking pen. I don't know, I haven't priced the refills because this one came with 3 refills, but yeah, I like this pen, so this is probably my new favorite as far as like a nylon, with a nylon tip. I would go for this Kiritake brush. And I guess, let me see, what's this? I also, just for felt tip, is this the felt tip? No, that's not it. What's the other one? Yeah, okay, so as far as felt tips, I would recommend this one. This is the Pilot Futaku, I guess. I don't know. It's by Pilot. Like I said, I'm gonna leave a link to all these, but this is the one that has, as far as felt tips, it's got a nice broad tip, and then it's got the thin tip. So those are my favorites, but really almost all these tools, if you can get a hold of any of these tools, I would recommend them all. These are all great pens. So yeah, so that's my recommendation on inking, and glad I got a chance to check out some of these new tools, and I'm looking forward to putting them into good use. So I think that's about it. So I will see you guys later. That is all.